All right, we're doing it. Episode 1, Day 1, our Metal Gear year. Starting with Metal Gear Solid 1998 for the PlayStation. You guys ready for this?
I'm so excited.
Excited? Oh, the first time we're going to see Hideo Kojima in the titles. I think by Metal Gear 4, it's like sound by Kojima, concept by Kojima, produced by Kojima, gaffing by Kojima.
It really
Art
is.
by Kojima.
Yeah. It's even like he did like sound checks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like the tiniest things.
Does that seem suggestive at all to you, Josh?
That giant penis.
Yeah.
You mean the giant penis going through the water?
With people on it, somehow.
Yeah. Ohio class. Yeah, sure. We know what that means. So we're starting off by playing Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation, which technically is the third game in the series. So obviously there was Metal Gear for the MSX and Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake, which came out in the 80s. But most American audiences have no idea, at the time, had no idea what those games were. So I think this stands for all of us. Most of us would consider this to be the first game in the series.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially since it's the first game that has Solid in it, even though technically it's Metal Gear 3.
Yep.
It's my
Definitely.
favorite.
It was my introduction to the series, so.
Mine too.
I mean, personally, just going back, I consider Solid Snake to be the first official game in the series. But a lot of people consider this game to be a direct remake of that game, even though it does make direct references to the continuity and the events of that game. We can talk about that later. But hopefully at some point in this show, the three of us will sit down and play Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 for the MSX. But to get things started off right, like you guys were saying, because it was our first experience with the series, we're going to do Solid, Metal Gear Solid.
This is the way that
Headbanging.
That's ridiculous. Like, that looks painful.
High-tech Special Forces Unit 5.
Speaking of high tech,
What is that even?
I think you're looking at rocks. That's suggestive. That is suggestive
That
right
is so
there.
suggestive.
Yeah, I'm going to have to edit that and to make it even more suggestive.
Maybe I'll let you do a strip search on me.
Well, I know I won't be bored for the next 18 hours.
My mind was blown when I first saw this because of the water effect, which looking at it now, it's not incredibly impressive, but it does the job.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my god, I don't know how they did a water effect. It looks like it's underwater.
But now you look at it, you're like, this looks like shit.
It even has like the light playing off the top of the giant penis.
We're just gonna call it just call it that from now on.
I like the that it's supposed to be keeping us in suspense. So who is that? Who is that in that torpedo?
Yeah.
'Cause
And as a kid, I was like, seriously, I don't even.
Who's this
I have
guy,
no frame
man?
of reference. Who could that even be?
Is he dead? He looks like he's falling out. Nope, he's alive. He's swimming.
Well, let's get into it. We were talking about how this is a lot of our first experiences with the Metal Gear franchise. Dora, since you've been playing it the longest of all of us, I think.
Yeah.
What was your first experience with the Metal Gear series?
So I think that we actually got it with our first PlayStation on Christmas Day.
Holy shit!
When PlayStation came out, my grandma always bought us like the PlayStation or whatever the game system, and then because she was actually the one that like had the money. So anyway, so she bought us the PlayStation, and we got this game on Christmas Day. And like
that fucking title screen. Go on.
I know, I love it. When I was a kid, I didn't know what it was. Like, seriously, I thought the drawing was, like, so... I didn't even know what that was.
He blinks at
And then
you.
it blinks, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then, I have to remember 0.
You going for extreme?
I'm gonna go normal. Are you going extreme? So, anyway, so when I was a kid, I was too young to actually play it, so a lot of my early experience with Metal Gear is watching my brothers play.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people's first experience is watching a friend or someone else play it.
So like just watching and I still love watching people play video games. Like, I guess I grew up watching my brothers play because they wouldn't let me play until later. So.
But you guys played like throughout the series. Like you got them as they released.
We got all the games as they released.
You've played every game on console on launch.
Yeah, pretty much. I was lucky in that way. And then all my brothers were really obsessed with the Metal Gear series, and we got to play them all on release. And like, I didn't get to play a game myself. Not even Metal Gear Solid 2 when it first came out. So I didn't get to actually play a game on release until like Metal Gear Solid 4. Like I got to play it instead of watching my brothers play it.
Oh yeah.
It was the first game that I got to play like myself. Like he handed me the controller, I'm shaking like. So
And now you're playing Metal Gear.
nah,
And for all the people watching, it's actually Dora's up. She's the resident expert at Metal Gear 1. No pressure. But she's at the controls, so all the flame hate in the comments directed her way.
Hey.
Not that there will be any.
Looks like the elevator.
But I did play this. Me and my little brother played this front to back.
It's just Snake looks so ridiculous with his fucking goggles.
No, look how serious he is.
So serious.
If you need to, contact me.
Colonel's asleep.
Yeah.
Looks like he's asleep.
40.85.
We should also point out that we are playing the HD version for the PlayStation Network.
Well, it's just that the PSN download.
Oh, the download.
version.
It's not part of the HD pack, I
Nope.
guess.
Nope.
But we're not running an old school PlayStation and have it connected through several different cables. We're just playing it through the
And
PlayStation.
we do have smoothing on, so it'll look a little better. This is a hell of a game to get for Christmas, so it's perfect because like Alaska and the snow and Shadow Moses.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Yeah. We just lost our shit because like, just the way that you can control the characters and what am I doing? The way you can
fucking
control the
intros.
characters and like you can interact with the people and you don't have to shoot everyone. You know what I mean? Like this is the first game that we had that you didn't have to like
That's just weird how you're
blow
like,
their brains away.
you're like walking around in the water and it's from underwater. The point of view is from underwater. What
Yeah,
a
like,
weird thing.
I don't even like you don't even think about it.
Oh shit! I didn't know you could do this.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can go over here and like.
I mean, I did the ration thing, but I didn't go over this side.
See, that's what I mean. That's why we have Dora playing. Yeah,
Yeah.
she
That's
knows all the
really-
dicking around. Did you do your trademark spin?
Oh, I haven't done it yet. You gotta do.
There you go. She does that
just
every
so-
game.
It just looks so nauseating.
Yeah, but every
cracks me up.
time you plug in a Metal Gear, that's
Every
the first
time,
thing you do.
You gotta do that. There's one of the games. I think Ground Zeroes. It doesn't really work.
Oh yeah,
No, unfortunately,
it
I
wouldn't work.
tried.
I tried, so I'm not the only one.
Uh-huh.
Woo, that was close.
Yeah, there's a Japanese player that like does some crazy Metal Gear stuff. He was a really well-known Metal Gear Solid 3 player, but he did some Ground Zero stuff, and he figured out how to do it. I tried to copy how he was doing it to get it to Ground Zeroes to do it, but I couldn't do it. He was getting him to spin around like a freaking fan on the ground.
Really?
Like
Yeah.
the curly run.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Oh
I hate that. I
no!
know already.
Our first alert.
First alert. Get used to it, people.
Yeah.
That evasion screen. Well, what about you, Josh? Not to put you on the spot, but if you feel like sharing about your first experience.
Mine's rather simple. Got a PlayStation. I mean, I've had a lot of. Oh, did the elevator already come down? No, it didn't come down yet.
Oh, you have to wait.
Snake, there's an elevator there you can take up to the roof
I've had a lot of systems growing up, and then finally got a PlayStation.
somewhere.
This was one of the first games I got for it. I can't remember if I bought it for myself or somebody else bought it for me, but this was around the time when I got my first job, so I think it was probably a purchase for myself. Reading the back of the box, and like, it was a thick ass box, so you know it was 2 discs, and it was just like crazy.
Were you familiar with anything like word of mouth or anything?
No.
You just straight
Absolutely.
off the street. What is this Metal Gear thing?
Saw the box art and was like, this is like fantastic, like the white box art with the red lettering, and then I
Oh,
flip it
yeah.
over and read the back, and
That's pretty fucking cool.
and knowing that like a big box means 2 discs, I'm like, wow, this is probably something like serious. This is a long game, or like
Yeah.
something like big, and so I either purchased it or somebody bought it for me, and the rest is pretty much history. Played it by myself. Eventually got to Metal Gear Solid 2 and finally 3 this year. But yeah, it was a pretty uneventful story, but
No, that's fucking cool because I mean that's a pretty unique, like right off the street, no hype.
Yeah,
you just
I had-
made that decision in the store. That's pretty like just the appeal of the game alone.
Yeah, I can't believe that
Yeah.
off the cover art. Like,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like,
I've never heard
told me about
anyone.
the game.
Yeah. I'm just take a break here and just mention like, come on, this is the fucking unveiling of our protagonist.
Look how fucking blocky his chest is. It's like,
sweet animation.
She's stripping.
Clever.
Here
camera.
comes. Oh, man.
shit, that ass.
We'll be hearing that a lot in this
That
series.
real flat ass.
Oh man,
Look at him, looking handsome as ever.
Solid Snake.
Just too many muscles.
It's too many
Just
muscles.
Too many unrealistic muscles.
He's got muscles on top of muscles.
I know.
So, I mean, I feel like I should say it here because it's going to be coming up a lot in the series. But one of the most groundbreaking things about this game, there we go, is that Metal Gear franchise, especially for Kojima's direction, it's way more cinematic than any other games at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And they were just, everything that we're seeing here is like, half of this is a reference to a film. I mean, this is directed like a John Woo movie. There's a lot of references like James Bond stuff here. This, like, no one else was doing this at the time. It's just, that's something that's going to come a lot through this series, is that everything that you see is pretty much blurring the lines between movies and video games. But just right out of the box, like you say, Christmas morning or the first time you got the game, like, what was the impression of, like, this is different, right?
Oh yeah, I could not fuck. I made the best purchase I could have ever made when I fucking actually started playing the game and saw the title sequence. I was like, oh yeah, this is like nothing I've ever seen before.
Age hasn't slowed you
So like that solidified that this is something different. This is something special. I've never seen anything like it.
How's that sneaking suit work?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, like I remember the graphics just blowing my balls off. Like
Yep.
as a kid, I was just like, "Oh my god, it's so real!" And I was just like,
He looks so real.
It looks so real, and like interacting with people, and
This
not
looks like
being
a movie.
I would have turned it to a
And-
popsicle. I'm sorry, guys. Go on.
Exercising.
And if you think about like any other game, you didn't have to wait to be seen to be seen. Like when you walked into a room, people knew you were there without even like them seeing you.
Mm-hmm.
So like this game, they have to be able to turn and know that you're there by looking at you.
Right.
So this is the first game that I can think of, and that I knew of, where people reacted like real people, and like they had to see you to know that you were there.
Kind
And I
of.
think- Well, I mean, the
No,
first
I see
game
what- I get what
had,
you're saying, yeah,
the first
yeah.
game that I had.
Yeah.
So
You're right. Yeah.
Go on.
Like there's like a way to tell whether or not somebody's looking your direction, and like I never thought about it that way. It's like one of the first games where not being seen is an option.
Yeah, and it was like it felt like a simulator to me. Like you could. It
Like
was
you're
like
actually
Simulation
infiltrating.
Snake. Yeah, if you were infiltrating it, out of any other game that I had played at the time, that's the way it felt. Which I've always been drawn to like simulator games.
Well, I think that brings me to like something else I want to talk about is a lot of people consider this game to be the first game in the stealth genre, where the point is to be not to be seen and not to kill people. Technically, Tenchu was released a little bit earlier on the PlayStation.
Oh man, I love Tenchu.
It beat it out by a couple of months, but the point I have to make is Kojima was already doing the stealth with Metal Gear for the MSX and Metal Gear 2. So technically, yes, he did have the upper hand, and he was working in the stealth genre before anyone else.
Plus, he's the fucking master of stealth games. Like he just is.
I think it's interesting, though, because Kojima specifically said that he wanted to have the players use stealth as an alternative to violence. He wanted to have players think about what they're doing and do puzzle solving and be more immersive as opposed to something like Contra or something where you're just blasting and button mashing. I'm sorry, just this Mei Ling thing.
No, I'm serious.
Snake's such a fucking horn dog.
I know I won't be bored for the next 18 hours.
I'm really interested. I'm sure someone else is.
I just can't believe she's
That fucking
flattered.
line, yeah.
She's not insulted. She's not like, God, you're such a fucking pig. She's like, oh my God.
And to be frank, a trained killer. That's like extra. Like
Yeah.
it's icing on the cake.
She's so weirdly turned on right now.
Yeah,
I don't
again,
understand why.
I would like to know how accurate this is to the Japanese translation. I know someone's going to get onto us in the comments how obvious that is to find out, but it's just, it's hilarious to me.
Be careful, Snake.
But as I was saying about the stealth, how it's supposed to be, I see especially the MSX games, they're a little bit closer to something like Zelda, I think. Because you still have the option of like shooting people and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's up to you of how you want to play it, and there's a lot more problem solving in it. But I mean, I think it's interesting that Kojima says that it was supposed to be an alternative to violence, but when you think about it, how incredibly fucking violent is this series? Like, even in Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, the bosses explode after you beat them. And in this game alone, I mean, like, think about the scenes where Meryl's getting shot repeatedly, and then Vulcan Raven gets picked apart, spoilers, Vulcan Raven gets picked apart by birds. I mean, it's hard to equate that statement what Kojima says about violence, and then the violence in this series is so cartoonish and outlandish, and especially when we're getting to the point of like Ground Zeroes, to seeing like a field operation, and
Yeah.
like the trailers that we've seen for The Fan of Pain are so violent.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys have any thoughts about trying to merge those two ideas.
Well, I mean, comparatively, this probably is one of the least violent games at the time, because as you said in Contra, that's literally all you do. Is
Just shoot people,
everything.
yeah.
Like you
They're
just,
aliens though.
just a fucking hose, a fire hose of bullets, like just spraying everywhere. Whereas
Yeah.
this is like, you cannot kill people. Yeah, there's violence that happens, as happens in war.
It does.
but,
It
like,
does reward you for not killing people. Though.
Exactly. Like there's the option is there, and it's actually encouraged gameplay wise, because whenever you're found, you're probably gonna die if you're found. That's very unlikely you're gonna get away.
Yeah, but couldn't you also argue that this is more violent because it's more like a simulator? And you're-
Smuggle out my spokes. I'm sorry. It's more like a simulator.
Yeah, because it's more like people are like you're more into the game because there's so much. I don't know, because people have to turn to see you, and you are like more immersed in it, and that you are becoming the character. Like where I don't know, it just seems more realistic in that way, and because it's more realistic, it becomes more violent because it's really like you're doing it.
That's a good point because that's a good segue. My opinion, and I think other interviews with Kojima has kind of highlighted. I think what he's trying to get at is that he wants violence to be something that the player has to think about, as opposed to just take for granted. Just shooting guys.
It's not rote. It's
Yeah,
like,
you're shooting guys in the face, and there's a definite. There's an impact on the gameplay, but also when it's cartoonish, or like we're seeing in the trailers for The Phantom Pain, when people get shot, it's not cool. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
sick, it's cool, but it's disturbing.
It's
and
gross.
This
yeah.
is one of the only games where I apologize if I kill somebody.
Yeah.
Any other game, I don't.
Oh yeah, I know. Like when you play Snake Eater or Ground Zeroes, you feel like you failed the mission if you have to kill someone.
Yeah, I
like
try
you
to
fucked
avoid
up.
it.
Yeah.
And when I do, I
Yeah.
apologize for it. But every other game, it's just that's what you do.
Yeah.
We're not at that level quite yet in this game because I think it's pretty. There are some parts of the game you have to shoot people. There's no getting out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just footprints in the snow.
No,
it's
that's like when I saw that as a kid. It's because I was like, people could see your footprints, and I thought it was like, as a kid, I thought that was hilarious. I just thought it was really funny.
And then the guards seeing them, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know he could see them. Oh my god, it's like real life.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, there are footprints here. It's just that reaction is just so funny.
This was always my first impression. I'm gonna get to my story in a minute, but there's going to be so much going on right now that I don't want to.
Hold on.
Yeah.
A surveillance camera?
A surveillance camera.
I think the more ridiculous one is later though, but
Yeah.
that's pretty good. A little trivia here is that apparently Kojima originally wanted this game Metal Gear Solid to come out for the 3DO CD system.
Whoa.
Could you? Because he had just done a port of Police Knots, and he was like, "Oh, this is a great system. I'm going to bring Metal Gear to that." But could you imagine how many of people would have never heard of Metal Gear if that was the case?
Yeah.
It could have killed the franchise.
I feel like this launched it into like the stratosphere.
Yeah, and that's another reason why people consider this the first game in the series, because it was the first mainstream. Because the
And it's
MSX
weird because we associate Metal Gear with PlayStation.
I was just
with
gonna
Sony,
say that. Yeah.
absolutely. Which is weird now that Ground Zeroes kind of messes that up.
Yeah, but like it is a PlayStation series.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Oh, balls.
Just like you can stick Halo on a PlayStation, but
Just
it's
get
still
shot in the face.
No,
Shooting you while you're down. But yeah, I mean, like, we're going to talk about all this stuff later, but like, to the point where
I'm at ease.
Kojima feels pressured to release a new game on every console launch. That's why we get Peace Walker for the, which one was it? Was it the portable?
Yeah, the PSP.
PSP. And then, you could argue that Ground Zeroes was kind of pressured to release for the PS4, just to have because they always have to have something on launch.
Yeah.
But yeah, originally this could have been for a completely different gaming system. What do you think? Do you think that really is? How does that? How weird is that? It's Kaz. This is the first time that we've seen him like in the Solid series.
Cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
as far as we know. That's super convincing sunglasses. And this also brings up another question that we're gonna really like get into a lot. Can Snake actually fucking see the people he's talking to on the codec? How does that
I
work?
don't know
Because
how it
there's
works.
times where it.
How did he know Mei Ling was cute? Maybe he has like a file on them, and then he was just introducing them to the file, and he has to.
But it's also weird that like their lips move.
Right. I think
know.
maybe that's for the player, and then so you have something to look at besides just the radio frequency and the subtitles.
Yeah.
And like he can only hear them,
Because in gameplay, he just simply holds an earpiece. Oh, I think it's like something inside of his ear that he's listening to, but we never get any any indication that he's got like a 3D like Google glasses on or something that he can see a heads-up display. And yet there are constant references in this game to visual cues during the codec sequences.
Yeah, there are.
So that's something that we're gonna.
Like, how did he know Mei Ling was cute unless he had some sort of file on her?
Yeah.
Sounding cute.
Yeah, that could be it.
They just opened the
I just love they all have
Like
like.
she's actually a 40-year-old bearded man.
That's what happens when you call those 1-800 numbers. I just love the fucking head nods when they're talking.
I know.
It looks so glitchy.
I know.
But this shit it was like mind blowing when it came out. 1998.
Yeah.
Like what? This is a fucking movie. I'm in a damn movie.
Oh, just to wrap up that idea that.
Tank's being worked on. What the hell?
I never noticed that.
Oh, they're putting it together. Oh, is that the same tank from later on?
Maybe.
Oh, maybe so. I don't know. There's 2 tanks in that hangar, so probably not. It's probably just...
Just to wrap up that 3DO thing, actually, Kojima was briefly flirting with bringing the Metal Gear Solid to the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, that's...
So imagine
That's
that,
weird.
if you will, having this game on the Nintendo 64.
What you're
This
telling
game-
me is Metal Gear Solid wouldn't exist.
Yes.
If it didn't come out on the PlayStation.
We wouldn't be making this video right now, celebrating
It's
close
just
to 30 years
and I'm
of
sure
Metal
this
Gear.
is like part of it. Is like the Nintendo is so like cartoony. Like like the idea of it like going on the
Yeah,
64.
they don't-
Yeah,
like,
it just doesn't fit into
it
that-
just doesn't belong.
They don't have the reputation of going towards more mature stuff. They tend
Yeah.
to be family friendly or like really inclusive.
Wow, what a temporary conversation that we're talking about something from 1998. We could still be making that
Yeah, that's
that
true.
same conversation today.
It's true.
Things don't change very much.
After playing this and like Silent Hill and Gran Turismo, I saw Sony as like the company doing like games for grown-ups.
Yeah.
Because that was just, I'd never seen anything like Silent Hill, this, or Gran Turismo.
Oh,
like, Gran Turismo
absolutely.
was a full-on fucking
Yeah.
simulator.
Yeah.
It was unreal.
Yeah.
So that established them, and to this day, they are in my mind of like the company that makes games for grown-ups.
You never talked about how you.
Oh, I said I'll get back to it later. It's just that there's so much going on here. I'm gonna wait until we get a quiet moment
Okay.
because I mean this is the beginning of the game, so we're getting shit thrown at us a mile a minute. I mean, also, how cool is that being in an air duct? At the very, like, is there
yeah.
another game where you can sneak through air ducts?
Not that I
mean, it's
know
just
of.
like obviously Kojima is like he saw Alien and he saw Die Hard and he was like, I have to have that in my game, you know.
Well, that's how you didn't infiltrate, of course.
Yeah. You do technically do that in the MSX games.
Yeah?
You do climb in through an air duct, but it doesn't. It's not like that first-person view, like it would be very immersive, like in a movie. Well, I guess this is a quiet moment. So, my story is very different from both of yours, and I think that's kind of why I think these stories are interesting. I'm totally, in context, a noob to the Metal Gear series. I never had a PlayStation growing up. I didn't get a PlayStation until I was, graduating from high school years later because we got it like at a bargain basement discount. I had the Nintendo 64, and so all the games that I played growing up were 64 games. So I never played this when it came out. I mean, I would go to friends' houses, I would go to relatives, and every now and then I would see them playing this really weird game. And I remember that Spotlight scene, because I think that was in one of the demos, right? It was in a PlayStation
think it
demo.
was.
Yeah, I think so.
And I remember popping that in on a friend's PlayStation and just being like, this is crazy. Like, this is so different from a Nintendo 64 game. I don't even know what's going on. And to be honest, it was kind of intimidating.
I could see that.
I mean, if you don't have a PlayStation, you like not only would I have to get a PlayStation to get this game, I would have to like do all this stealth stuff, which is there's nothing on Nintendo 64 that would even be similar to that.
Right.
And so I kind of grew up with Metal Gear like something in the background. Like it's the exact opposite of what you had, Josh. Metal Gear for me was always hype. It was always this thing that there were super fans. And this is before back in the day, because fandom now is completely different from what it was back then. Things were really underground, and it was when people talk about games, they're the people who really like games. It wasn't just like everyone likes games now. Mm-hmm. But anytime I met someone who liked games, they'd be like, "Why haven't you played Metal Gear? What is wrong with you?" And my earliest memory is actually from Metal Gear 2, is actually seeing at the end with Raiden walking around completely naked and just being like, "What the fuck am I looking at?"
I can't believe that's your
what
second experience. Is
I don't.
that shit.
That is just like. And then I was like, "What is this?" They're like, "Oh, it's a Metal Gear game." And I was like, "Of course it fucking is." Oh, there he is.
What a damn
Akiba.
cold. I hate Alaska.
Hates Alaska.
Boy, that woman is built all right.
Is that what you guys talk about on the shitter? Is that a guy thing?
We even keep our pants on.
Yeah.
You're like, man, that one was hot. And
Oh,
then
wait.
you just take a shit. And then you leave.
So apparently,
Oh, dude, you pulled your pants down? Come on.
that's fucking pussy shit. Come on. So are we about to meet who I think we are?
Yeah. Do you want me?
You can see Mr. Darpa Chief beforehand.
Yeah. I'm gonna go down there and see him.
I mean, this is actually kind
Poke
of.
my head into
People say that this is kind of like almost like a survival horror game at points. We'll definitely see that later with Mantis and Wolf, but like crawling around on the vents, there's no background music. This is kind of spooky
It is spooky.
because you're like, it looks like you're holding a flashlight. There she is,
Is that a woman? Not
doing sit-ups.
How could that be a woman? She has giant tits.
So,
No way.
I don't know if you actually want to do this, but apparently, if you go back,
Yeah, I was gonna say there's an Easter egg with this.
yeah, you have to do it 4 times though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have. You know,
You have to leave the ladder, go back up, leave the
Oh,
ladder,
I
go
do.
back
Let's
up.
let's not do that. Let's not do that. This is not an Easter egg hunt. But apparently, if you go back 4 times, go back and come and do it 4 times. When you go back and see Meryl and look down the vent, she'll be in her underwear.
Oh, that's not worth it. You just see like horizontal. Like, do you guys really want to see
Like triangle boobs?
Yeah.
triangle boobs
Yes.
that could poke out eyes?
I want to see those pixels.
When I was like 12 or whatever, yes.
Tasty.
Oh my god, she has panties on.
Oh man, yeah. Imagine if that was. I'm surprised your brothers. Did your brothers ever do that?
No.
Oh man,
we didn't
that's
know about stuff like
exactly who it's marketed
that.
towards.
We didn't ever like look at like magazines that much for like secrets for some reason. I don't think we could afford them.
your worthless butt.
Look at his expression.
He's got such a goofy tie on, so it's pink and with green spots. Polka dot.
Totally the diaper chief, you guys.
In that case,
Donald Anderson.
Does that mean
Slow down.
Decoy Octopus is potentially wearing blackface?
Oh.
Well, is he?
Also, spoiler.
Who?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's yeah.
I mean, fuck.
Yeah, fuck.
They'll launch a nuclear weapon.
This is also one of the very first cutscenes, very long conversational cutscenes in the series. We'll get
Yeah.
used to it. But guys, I hate to say it, we're running.
Ah.
This has been we made an exception for this episode because it's episode 1. We're running a little long on this episode, but as it is, we're probably gonna have to cut it here. So
I'm gonna cut it after this.
we'll cut it after this cutscene. So we'll let it run after this cutscene. It's a long fucking cutscene, guys. But yeah, normally our episodes aren't going to be this long. It's just to settle into the groove of things. What is he
nodding.
doing?
He's talking.
It's headbanging.
Yeah. Why does everyone frown in this game? I know it's a serious game, but everyone
That's
is
why.
just like, it's a serious game.
No smiling, man.
I always thought it was cool, but you guys just missed it. Like, there's also like maggots on the floor.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that when
Shit like
Johnny was
that.
taking a shit
Like,
in his pants.
Yeah, it's. I think when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh, that's so gross," but it made it more.
There it is,
real.
guys. The first Metal Gear.
First Metal Gear.
Run-ins in the past.
I
What
always thought
is that?
I always thought this one was one of the coolest.
Oh yeah, Rex is the best.
Rex is my
Fucking
favorite.
awesome.
Yeah. That was also one of my impressions of this game is like, what, it's a stealth game, but there's mechs in it.
Yeah.
Like, also there's people with superpowers.
Yeah,
I
but
don't fucking.
when I first saw it, like I didn't even know what mechs were. Like I wasn't aware of like Japanese animes where they had like mechs. Like I had no idea what the fuck that
Me
was.
either. Yeah.
So
Oh, you never saw Voltron?
No.
Really?
Well, I mean, I'd seen stuff like that as a kid. I didn't associate it with Japan until
Oh, I
much later.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, Rex is like an old dog that dies or something, and then somebody tries to replace it with a new dog, and you're like, but it's not.
It's
Rex.
not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no, Rex
Yeah.
is the original.
Absolutely.
yeah,
for me.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about that as I do about Gray Fox, but we'll talk about that
Yeah?
later.
Yeah, when I saw the Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid 3, I was like, oh.
Oh, well, that's supposed to be kind of wonky on purpose.
Yeah, I know, but
Is-
I was so disappointed.
Though I do really like the Shagahad.
these guys are pros. They're all experienced in handling and equipping weapons.
Hey! Shut up in there!
Is that
He
John?
pokes his head out like he's.
Shut up!
He's like-
what? I don't know.
He
just
waves
said-
him away.
All right, well,
Is that
He
Johnny?
was,
I think
was
so.
so
Yeah.
obviously.
Because he just came out of the dumper. Remember
That was Johnny.
Yeah, who does Johnny think he's fucking talking to? He's obviously talking to someone. Johnny is just bad at his
I
job.
feel like he pokes his head out like it's a sitcom. Hey!
You
Shut up in there, will ya? Like that's his catchphrase. Everyone claps.
Hey! Shut up in there, will ya?
Uh-oh. I want to start bringing that to this series.
Baker knows one.
It's got a pretty goofy tie.
It is such a silly tie.
President of Arms Tech.
That's right. Each of us needs to input.
And this
my
is
God.
this is supposed to be dramatic, but I don't know.
Guys.
Well, was it?
Oh, it is if you're not talking over
when you were a
it.
kid,
Yeah.
although some of it I was like,
I just can't get over
what?
the wonky camera angles. Like, look at this. Like, it's twisting around in the corner, and yeah, it's crazy at the time.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess it's supposed to be surreal or whatever, but I mean, just stepping back and looking at it, you're just like, what the fuck is going on? It looks like the camera's broken. Oh man, look at that tattoo. So that's the
Just
actual
stick on.
Foxhound logo from the MSX, from Solid Snake, from Metal Gear 2.
Yes. They'll be able to launch a nuke anytime.
See, I think there's just something so charming about this version. Like when I played the game, or the one that came out on the game,
Yeah.
Twin Snakes.
Twin Snakes, I was so like, all of the charm was taken away.
Nobody
Yeah.
likes
Just
Twin
didn't-
Snakes. Anybody that's listening that likes Twin Snakes, you don't like Twin Snakes. Nobody likes
You've been
Twin
lying to yourself all these years.
Snakes. This is the
Hey,
game
but you know,
like.
Twin Snakes is not a Kojima game. It's directed by a different. It's directed by a guy.
Cutscenes were changed.
Yeah.
Snake does a somersault off of a missile and fires a missile midair. Like it's just. This is the
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
There are 3 different.
I mean, the glitchy arms and shit. I don't know. There's just something kind of like.
She's thinking really
Just
hard.
getting
there.
her hands going through her elbow, like.
All this
Like, I
clipping
love
going
it.
on.
His
There's
bed.
pixels going through the Darpachi's head.
Yeah, I just love it.
Second floor basement.
I'm gonna be joking about this throughout the entire series. I just love the definition of Snake's character is repeating things that people have just
my God.
said to him. We should have a counter. I'm not gonna do this. But it would be nice if there was a counter of how many times he repeats things something someone has just said to him.
Take this. It's my ID card.
Is he talking to the
ID
toilet or?
card.
So we got a key card and we need to find Baker.
Yeah, why is
right?
the camera in the toilet?
Yeah.
So what the fuck? Is this the maggot pointed POV cam?
Somebody's listening in. It's
Yeah.
the maggot.
It's the
Maggots. They got nanomachines in them.
Transmission medium. As you approach the door's security devices, they'll read the data stored in the card.
And the doors will open automatically. Gotcha.
This game also, knowing as a kid, it reminded me a lot of
Okay.
Resident Evil.
I'm
Like
gonna
some
get
of the
you out of
dramatic
here.
points.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
What is it?
What is he doing?
I don't know.
Haven't heard any other way to disarm the power.
Especially
have you?
like the cheesy talking and like nodding your head and stuff.
Also,
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Where he keeps.
Just
Are you
said
sure you
that.
haven't heard of another way to do this? It's
Plan to give in to the terrorists' demands.
That's their problem.
it's
It has nothing to do
sort of like an early tell.
yeah. There's a lot of those. There's a lot of hints in here.
Pentagon.
Like this. But it's not. But the thing is, it's not what you think it is. Because you later on, you're like, oh, that's why this happened. It's not till the end of the game. You're like, oh, wait, it happened for a different reason. Why was the camera going weird then? We'll talk about it later.
Why does Meryl care so much?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe she thinks Snake is killing him.
Yeah, that's what it would sound like, I guess.
that's she actually says that.
Does she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Well, you failed your first mission,
He
Snake.
said. I like how he tells his pulse with his whole hand.
He's dead, Jim.
You just touched his shoulder. He's dead.
His pulse is.
The chief.
No man, I'm really fine. He's dead.
Are you hiding something from me? Absolutely not.
Oh yeah, that's. We'll
Dude,
always
Colonel.
trust the Colonel.
Oh my god.
Trust your orders blindly, guys. Always.
It still blows my mind because we watched Rambo recently. and
Oh
how
yeah,
much he's like the
he
Colonel
is
in Rambo.
absolutely. He is just like almost just a traced up version of Colonel Troutman from Rambo.
Yeah.
Both movies. If you want to have, if you're a Metal Gear fan, for multiple reasons, go back and watch the Rambo movies.
Oh my God,
Especially
they're
Rambo
great.
2. Rambo 2 is basically just Snake Eater.
Yeah.
But Colonel Troutman, there's a lot of characters in this series who are just approximations of other characters. Colonel Troutman, i.e. Roy Campbell, are just the exact same person. All right, guys. So we really should have stopped this like 5 minutes ago, but we got stuck in a cutscene there. But I think this is a good time to wrap up our first episode.
Definitely.
But episode 1, Our Metal Gear year in the can.
Yeah.
Looking out from under the bed at a dead body.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Metal Gear.
See ya in episode 2.
Yeah, see ya.